Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar, where we are going to be demonstrating our new LEED V5 tool. I know that a lot of you guys are interested in getting prepared for LEED V5. You might already know quite a bit about it, or maybe you're here to also sort of learn what those new requirements are. We're very excited. LEED V5 brings some big changes that we'll be talking about, and they're going to be really good for the industry. So we're excited to talk about that and to demonstrate our new tool. Now, while we wait, we still have some people trickling in. If you could jump into the chat, let us know where you are signing in from, what city and country you are coming from. We love to see where our audience is and where people are talking about LEED V5. And if you were at Green Build just a few weeks ago, then you probably heard a lot about LEED V5 there. If you are on any communication from the US GBC, you've been probably hearing about it quite a lot in the last couple weeks. Now, as we go through, if you guys have any questions, please jump into the chat or go to the questions tab. Type your questions there. We will be monitoring that as we go through the webinar, and we'll be answering your questions in the chat. So don't hesitate. If you have any questions now or later, just jump them in the chat. And if we have some time, we'll do a little bit of live Q&A at the end. And you can go to the next slide, please. All right. So to introduce today's topic and your host, today's webinar is hosted by One Click LCA. Many of you guys already know who we are, but just in case you're unfamiliar with us, we are the world's #1 AI-powered LCA platform, and we cover every industry. So one of our main goals is powering 1 million makers of a zero carbon future by 2035. And we do that through our software, through our educational platform, the One Click LCA Academy, and through webinars like these. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. We have a tool that gives you access to over 400,000 LCA datasets. We offer compliance solutions for over 140 standards and methods, one of which is LEED V5 that we're going to be talking about today. And we've been powering the makers of a zero carbon future for over 20 years. So that's you guys. Thank you guys so much for working on decarbonization and for joining us today. You can go to the next slide. So I will stop talking here very shortly, and my colleague Mohammed will be taking over. He is an LCA and EPD consultant here at One Click LCA. He is an expert, and he is going to do a deep dive into LEED V5, the new requirements, and show you exactly how our new tool works. So Mohammed, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Aileen. Hi, Aileen. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here covering the LEED V5 tool of One Click LCA for you. As Aileen said, I'm covering the consulting team and support team of One Click LCA in North America. Today we are going to just have a look at the LEED V5 tool. First, we are going to start by a bit of introduction to embodied carbon assessment, maybe if someone new to the field or something like that. That's going to be useful. Then we are going to have a kind of comparison between LEED V5 and the LEED V 4.1. Then a bit like more in details, we are checking the LEED V5 through the standard and the guideline, and how we can achieve the credits. And at the end, we are going to have a live demo from the tool for you. So about the embodied carbon assessment, probably you know it very well, but this is going to be regarding the calculation of the GHG emissions raising from the manufacturing, transportation, installation of the building materials, and then maintenance of them in the use phase and repair, replacement, or anything like that. And at the end of life phase of the building, and the demolition that we have, for example, recycling and the rest, and the emissions related to each of these parts. All of them are going to be discussed in the embodied carbon assessment. So if we are going through a kind of stage-based figure for the life cycle assessment, we can say that starting with the A1 to A3, which is for the production of the building materials, then we are going to have a kind of transportation from the manufacturing site to the building site to have the building materials there. And then we are going to have the construction site operations, the installation process, and the rest. And something like welding or anything else are going to be covered here. Then you have the use phase of the building. In use phase, based on LEED and the modules that are going to be considered there, you're going to have B1 to B5, mostly related to the emissions coming out of the energy consumption in the use phase of the building, either from maintenance to repair, replacement, or refurbishment, or if it's a kind of emission that is not related to the energy consumption with any format of that, it's going to be considered in B1 as the use stage, which is going to be related to the emissions that you have for refrigerant leakage or the sequestration of the carbon that you can have through the carbonization of the exposed concrete or anything like that. And then you're going to have the C1 to C4, which is the end of life module. Here we are going to consider the demolition of the building, the transportation of the demolished materials either to the landfill or the waste processing companies, such as the recycling companies, and the emissions related to that as well. There's another module, which is the D module. It's going to be the positive impact of the buildings that we have, like if we are going to have any PV panels, we are going to have export the energy of that if it's extra, and these kind of things are going to be considered there. But the main modules that we are going to discuss are here for the embodied carbon assessment. So what has been changed in the LEED V5? For sure, probably you guys have checked V4.1 before the embodied carbon assessment of that. But no worries, we have articles in the Help Center of One Click LCA. They're just going to put the link of that article in the chat. So you have an idea of how was the process of that one as well. But just a brief explanation, in LEED V4.1, we had like 4 pathways to achieve credits for the lifecycle assessment. The first one was to just do the LCA and the embodied carbon assessment. The second one was reducing the GWP to 5%, then we had the 10%, and then the 20% to achieve the 4 credits out of that. But this has been changed in V5. We still do the life cycle assessment and the embodied carbon analysis, but it's going to be just only one option. We have 2 other options as well to achieve the credits. And in LEED V5, probably that's the biggest change that we're going to see in V5, which is the fact that we have to do the LCA, and it's mandatory as a prerequisite. And you need to do the LCA for A1 to A3 and the embodied carbon assessment of that to be qualified for your LEED certification. And this was a thing that we didn't have it before, and it started from the LEED V5. Besides that, like besides the prerequisites, you have the reduction option as well, for sure. And there is the place that you're going to have your credits based on the reduction of the GWP of the assessment of your building. So EPD approach has been updated as well. Before, probably it was just, for example, using 20 EPDs from 5 different manufacturers, and that was it. You were going to have like some credits, but now it's a comparison. So you're going to use the EPDs, and then you need to compare them with some average values for the GWP to be able to achieve the credits. So it's not just about using the EPD. It's also about comparing how green is the material that you're going to use and the EPD of that. Then a new module has been added to the assessment, which is A5, construction site operations. So we didn't have it before, but here we are going to consider it as an extra option. You can have up to 2 points from this A5 tracking of the emissions. that we are going to explain it more in the following slides. So now we want to go more deep in the LEED v5 itself. First of all, about the material and resources prerequisites. So as I told you, you need to do the embodied carbon assessment for the structure, envelope, and the hard escape materials. You need to include the major elements such as the concrete, steel, all to the end, like glass, asphalt, as you can see in the slide. Besides that, some other areas of the building, such as the parking areas, needs to be considered in the scope of the assessment. So for the prerequisite part, it should be only A1 to A3, and that's enough. And One Click LCA is there to just help you with all the assessment regarding that. The process is going to be for sure much easier when you're using the tool. And you need to just enter your building materials either from our integrations such as the Revit or the other ones, or a bill of quantity of material, as simple as that. And then One Click LCA is going to calculate that part for you. Then you have the a kind of additional requirements that you need to declare the top 3 embodied carbon hotspots, the materials that are responsible for most of the emissions regarding the embodied carbon of A1 to A3. Again, we have a feature in our results page of the projects that it's going to easily just list not only 3 materials, but 25 materials that are responsible for most of the emissions in the most contributing materials. And based on that, you can have a report for this requirement. And at the end, it's going to need a kind of narrative strategy to say that, okay, what's our plans for the reduction of the emissions related to this, like materials with the most impact. Then we are going through the process of the MRC2, where we are going to focus on the reducing the embodied carbon emission. So again, we need to consider the structure envelope and the hard escape materials. Anything like parking spaces are they need to be included as well. Either we are going through the life cycle assessment and we are going to reduce the GWP, or we are going through other pathways such as using the EPDs, or and then comparing them with the average values to see the reduction, or going for the A5 and construction site operations. So if, for example, we want to go for the, just as an example, we are going to see it more in details, but if you want to go just for the life cycle assessment part, you can have the maximum points, which is 6 points for the new construction, exactly from that option. So you have this. If you're just going to meet the baseline and industry averages, you're going to have 2 points. Then by the reduction of the GWP from 10% to 40%, you are going to have 3 to 6 points. So you can achieve all the points from the first option. They call it in the new guideline, or first pathway, which is the embodied carbon assessment. Or if you have something that is not going to be covered here, like for example, you can only reduce the emissions by 20%, which is going to be 4 points. You can cover the rest of the 2 points from other options, which is EPD analysis and also the A5 emission analysis. But the point is that if you want to go for the platinum, you need to have 20% reduction of the embodied carbon for sure. And then you can follow up with the rest of the options that you have available. So how to achieve these credits? As I said, first of all, we are going to see the requirements that you're going to have for the whole building lifecycle assessment. So first, about the scope of the assessment, we have the module A to C, and we are going to consider the cradle to grave for sure. As I told you, structure, envelope, the hardscapes are going to be considered. You need to have a baseline model to compare the emissions of your proposed design with that baseline. And we are going to let you know what's the features of this baseline, but generally this baseline could be the first draft of your design, or if it's an early stage or you don't have any data or anything like that, that you don't have a first draft, you can use another tool from One Click LCA, which is Carbon Designer 3D, that is going to simply, by knowing just the type of the building, office, educational or anything else, the area of the building and the location of the building, you can easily have your baseline. So no need to like going through like assessment. Okay, I don't have any data. How should I create the baseline? It's not like that. Then if it's a new construction, 1 to 6 points, core and shell 1 to 7 points. And the point is that for achieving the credits and the points, we are going to only focus on the GWP, as I said. But for the report, you need to report all these 6 environmental categories, which is going to be available in the Tracy or CML lifecycle impact assessment methodologies. Tracy for North America, and then CML for the European side, rest of the world. You need to like consider the CML in that case, but in both of these like LCIA methodologies, lifecycle impact assessment methodologies, you need to cover all the 6 environmental categories for the reports for the LEED. Then you have the option of the EPDs. Again, as I said, it's not just about using the EPDs, but comparing them to some industry averages to be sure that your materials are green as well. So you have 2 pathways here by this option. One of them is like checking all the materials that you have EPD for that in your project, or in the pathway 2, you're just going to select some specific materials, such as the concrete, steel, aluminum, glass, or insulation, and you're just going to focus on that. So you need to double check your EPDs with some industry averages, and in One Click LCA, we are using the CLF material baselines for the comparison, and you're going to just enter your materials, and then all of the things are going to be done by the software, the comparison, the report out of that, the thresholds, I don't know, everything are going to be done there, and you need to just easily take a report out of that, and that's it. Then at the end, you have the option 3, which is the tracking of the carbon emissions for the construction site operations. So here it's the A5 that probably you know about it. You have 2 options. You can only go for the contractor, the main contractor operations, and following up with the emissions related to that, which is 1 point, or you can consider contractor and subcontractor together and analyze the emissions of both of the actions with both of them. Then you're going to have 2 points. So A5 is still not compulsory, because you can have the 6 points out of the first and second option without even A5. But if you're going to follow up with that, you can have easily 2 points. Again, the option is available. We are going to see it in the live demo that easily you can enter your values and it's going to be calculated. So this is going to be probably the last one before the live demo, how you need to define your baseline for the first option, which is the life cycle assessment. The baseline should be comparable in terms of the size, function, and orientation. All the things should be keep the same. Then the lifespan should be the same for both of them, 60 years. And the tool that you're using for developing your baseline, besides the S standard, which is the case like ISO in North America, CML in the European side, and the rest of the world. On that case, you need to use the same S standard. And as I said, for the baseline creation, you can easily use one of our tools, which is Carbon Designer 3D, and it's going to help you a lot with this step. So now we are going to have a live demo. The project that I've created here for you, it's just a sample project. So the first thing that I want to show you, and I want to specifically focus on that, is the lifecycle modules that are going to be considered. So you're probably familiar with the V4.1 tool. If you want to enter your data, the only thing which really matters is the building material query tab, and you're going to just enter your materials, and that's it, because it's going to consider the A1 to A4 emissions. Because you have the materials, then you have the transportation, then you have the life cycle stages, such as the B4 and B5 by the lifespan of the materials. And you're going to have the end of life process, which is the C1 to C4, again in the building material query tab. So everything is going to happen there. And probably this is the only input that you need to go for it. Then the building area for sure, project description, who is going to do the project, and then the calculation period, and that's it. But when you're comparing this with the LEED V5, in LEED V5, you're going to see for sure you have the building materials, but besides that, you have the construction site operations, another input for covering the A5. Then you have the emissions and removals, which is going to consider B1, refrigerant leakage carbonization. Then you have the maintenance of the building, B2. Then you are going to have some limit values. Here is the place that you're going to define the industry averages to compare our EPDs with them. And then you have the project description, calculation period, and the building area, same as the tool before. So you have 3 more modules to go through that and cover it to have your analysis. So I'm just going to look at these modules one by one together. So you are going to see a list of like all the modules that you have and how you want to go forward with them. The first one is the building material query tab. As you can see, we are going to have a list of material. This is just a sample project I've created. No worries about the data. It's, you're going to enter your materials, either, as I said, from the integrations that we have, such as the Revit, or if you have energy simulation models out of Design Builder IES, you can easily import them. And then the materials are going to be there. Or if you are in an early stage design, again, we have the tool that can help you to create a kind of bill of quantity of materials for you. So different options are available. But consider that you have a building and you have a Revit file and you're going to BIM model. Then you're going to enter it in the One Click LCA. So you're going to see a list of materials, the quantity of them. So it's going to calculate the A1 to A3. Then you have other columns, which is not the focus of today. We can like cover it in the specific live trainings and technical support calls that you have in the support team. But the one that is important here is the transportation, which is going to cover the A4 emission for you. Then you have the service life of the materials, which if it's like they're in foundation, probably is permanent. If they are not there, you're going to see it. And if the service life is less than the building, it means that you're going to have a replacement. And then you have the wastage column. You didn't have this one before in the LEED V4 because it's going to be calculated in A5, which is construction site operations. So it's the wastage that you're going to have during the construction of this building for this material. This data, again, we are going to use some defaults for wastage and transportation, and also for the end-of-life process, which is going to calculate the C1 to C4. But if you have more accurate data, you can enter it. Otherwise, the defaults based on the location of your building are going to be considered to make the job easier for you. And then we have the repair as well, which is a percentage annually. And based on that, the software is going to calculate the emissions related to that. The next step would be the construction site operations. In the construction site operations, we are going to follow up with the A5 and C1. So both of them are going to be considered there. So the C1, we have scenarios for that. You can easily click on this arrow, see the scenarios, enter one of them. That depends on your location. Either you can use European ones or the global ones. Like, for example, for North America, we are going to use those. And then the quantity of the demolition that you have, and then it's going to simply calculate the emissions for you. For the A5, which is the option 3 of the assessment, you can easily enter the amount of the electricity consumption that you have. I've just entered like from one of these states the electricity profile here, but based on your location, you can like enter any of the electricity profiles that you have for your region. We have like data for almost everywhere. The quantity of that, and that's going to calculate the A5. If in the construction site operations you're not using electricity, you're using fuels, like for some of the machines, again, you can add them, like here, site fuel consumption, by clicking on this input data. Or if you're using district heating, again, you can add it, or anything else that you need besides the, actually through the construction of the building. You can add it here, and you can follow up with the credit for the construction site operations, which is the A5. Then you have the tab of the emissions and removals. Here we are going to consider something which we call it refrigerant leakage. And the emission of that, you need to just see the catalog of the system that you're using and see what's the type of the refrigerant there, the quantity of that, and then the leakage rates are also available, either by the defaults or by the accurate data that you have through the catalog of your system. And it's like for the refrigerant-based systems, such as the heat pumps. Then it's going to calculate the amount of the emissions for you. The refrigerant leakage is very emission intensive. And that's why, like, you can see, like, with even 10 pounds of that, you're going to have like 92 tons of the emissions, which is huge. As I said, these data are just like something that I put in there, so not accurate, but it's very emission intensive, the refrigerant leakage. Then carbonization is going to consider the exposed concrete. The exposed concrete can sequester some amount of the carbon from the environment through chemical reactions. So you can easily select the type of the concrete that you have, which is exposed, and then you are going from this that you're going to see here, and then the quantity of that, and it's going to simply calculate the amount of the emissions that is going to sequester, which is a positive impact for your building. It's going to reduce from the CO2 emissions that you have. Then you have the maintenance tab for the B2. Here again, you're going to see what's the general process of like having your maintenance for the building materials, any electricity consumption, any water consumption for cleaning, for example, or window washing or something like that, or any fuel consumption. All of them can be considered here and can be entered here, and you can have the final results out of that. Then in the tab of the limit values, here is the place that the industry averages are going to be entered based on the material type. As you can see, we have data for everything, because in one of the pathways, you need to check all the EPDs that you have with these materials to have like 2 points or 3. And then this is going to be the CLF averages here. So those are like pre-selected for you, and you're going to see them. So no worries. These are going to be the selection that you're going to have for the comparison. No need to change anything here, because those are like pre-selected, and you can go forward with them. And then you have the tab of the project description, who is doing the project, what's the name of the company, and if you have any comments for the baseline, if you have any comments for the proposed design, you're just going to enter everything here, and that's going to be as simple as that. The calculation period for the for your building is going to be 60 years, and then based on the LEED, and then you have the building area that you're going to enter it, and that's going to be the whole for the material input and the input page and the entry of everything. When we entered all the data, we are going to the results page to see what options are available there for you. So there are some novelties there. First of all, you are not going to see just one table of the emissions, you're going to see 2, because the GWP is the main focus for this part of the this like LEED V5. So we have a separate table only focusing on the GWP of different parts of the building, such as the structural part or the envelope, interior, and the rest. So you are going to see the emissions based on each part for the GWP, or you are going through this table, which is the main one that you probably are going to be used for your reports, that you're going to see the each life cycle stage, then each of these environmental categories and the emissions related to them. Then besides these 2 tables, you are going to have this new table again, which is for option 2. So you are going to use some EPDs, they're going to be listed. And then it's going to be, like, for example, I have the EPD for the material 5 and 7, like in this project. Then there is a limit value, which is coming out of the CLF baselines. And then this is the EPD that I've used. So now I like have more emissions comparing to the limit value. So I'm not going to be able to go forward with the credits of the option 2. So I need to change the material. But for example, if you're like checking some other materials such as this one, Here we are doing good. So that's going to be awesome to just continue with that. But as I said, it's like very nice because you have all the APDs listed, all the limit values as well, and you can see what could be the focus that you're going through there to change the material, to have like less emissions compared to this average value, and you can follow up with the option too. So you have this results section here as well, so you can download the report out of this table, and you can go forward with your assessment. The next thing that is like interesting here in this results page is this most contributing material feature that we have. So here you are going to see which materials are responsible for how much of the emission. If you remember from the prerequisites, you need to declare the materials, like the first 3 materials that are responsible for most of the emissions. This table is going to make it like much easier for you. You can easily go through that and have a list of those materials. And as I said, it's not just for 3 materials, it's going to give you a list of 25 materials responsible for most of the emissions. And usually when we are creating our baseline, we are going to the results page, to this tab of the most contributing materials. Then instead of just a blind search from all the materials that you have in your building material query tab and just going forward with the optimization of those, we can easily go here and see which materials are responsible for most of the emission. And then easily we can go to the show sustainable alternatives. So it's going to show you the ranking of the current material that you have. Like this material that we have is like very bad. Then you can go through this list and you can select the one which is greener, which for this one we have like lots of number of like a lot of options for the replacements. And you can easily change your material and go forward with the GWP reduction. Maybe just a tip here. So if you want to go for like this kind of comparison between the materials and changing the materials in your proposed design, when you're coming to this most contributing materials, you need to focus first of all on the order. So for example, the first material, which has like 37% of the emission, is like the one that you want to focus on that. But besides that, you need to focus on this carbon cloud as well. So that material itself shouldn't be like green, because like if this material is green enough and it's like 11% of the emission, that's fine. You cannot do anything with that because currently it's like doing great because you have a lot of that. You have this amount of the emission. But for this one, for example, the first one is nice to focus on that because it has a huge share. Besides that, the material is not green itself, so you can focus on that and change it, and easily, probably by changing just one material, you're going to have 10%, 15% reduction. Or in some cases that you have a lot of that material, from that material, you can easily go for even more than 20% of the reduction by changing that material. And after this most contributing materials, you're going to see different types of graphs that we have, that you can easily download any of them in any format and use it in your reports. The ones that could be used, for sure, all of them are somehow interesting in a way. But the annual one could be something that maybe you can focus on that. It's going to show you the annual emissions. We haven't entered that much for the maintenance, repair, or the replacement. So these values are really small, but then you're going to add like more real data to your project. So these bar charts are going to be available here as well. And you can have different types of graph as well, like pie charts, bar charts, the column ones, and the rest. The last thing that could be the focus for the results page is the type of the reports that you're going to have from this LEED tool. So you can have easily the one-click report that we are going to have a new version of that from January, which is an Excel file including all the materials and the emissions of those, or a Word report. Again, that Excel file is in a Word report and emissions of those materials. Or because you are following the LEED, you can specifically go for the LEED V5 report, or the best one, which is the LEED V5 comparative report. We have an article for that from the Help Center of One Click LCA that we will put the link of that in the chat for you. So here is the place that you're going to select the baseline of your building, of your project, and then you're going to download the report. This report is going to compare the proposed design besides the baseline, and uh, I guess probably this should be also in the screen. Yes. So you're going to see a report like this. And then after like going through all the introductions, then you are going to see a nice table here that is showing you the baseline, the optimized design, which is the proposed design. And if you're not happy with anything, like the names or anything, you can easily change it. Like instead of optimized, putting proposed. And then you can see the percentage of the change, like for example, how the proposed is better than the baseline or not, and how have you changed like the materials to be the best. I haven't changed a lot of things in my proposed, so that's why you're not seeing a great value here, but you can easily change your materials and use this report. And then other lifecycle scopes and the tables of the emissions for each of the lifecycle stages and for each of the impact categories. So this report itself could be easily just downloaded, and you can just submit it for your analysis, and that's going to be the full report of your project. So yeah, that's it regarding the live demo.
Well, thank you, Mohammed, so much for that presentation, for that live demo. Really informative. And after seeing the tool in action, anyone in the audience, we want to know if you would like to book a demo, more one-on-one demo, to either discuss if you're a current customer getting the LEED V5 tool, if it makes sense for you, or if you are not a current customer, but you're looking at how you can comply with LEED V5 and you want to look at One Click LCA and see how it will work for you and your organization, we'd love to talk to you. So if you want to book a one-on-one consultation, just say yes to the poll that is popping up on your screen now, and we will reach out to you and book that demo. And if you're not ready, you can say not now, and you can still learn more by going to our website. And of course, if you join our newsletter, you'll hear all about the different updates that we have. So now there is just a couple questions that we can go over real quick. So the first one, Mohammed, is which life cycle impact assessment methodologies are supported in the LEED V5 tool?
Yeah, actually, that's a very good question, because based on the data points that we have available, so that's a question of like a lot of users of the license as well. So generally, for building LCA, we have three types of lifecycle impact assessment methodologies. We have CML, Tracy, and PEF, which CML we know it as plus A1, and PEF we know it as plus A2 data points. They are European side, and also in Asia and other parts of the world, they're using that as well. For LEED V5, again, we are just going to focus on the Tracy and CML, so we don't have PEF. So whenever you are seeing a data point which is a PEF data point, PEF EPD, you can easily send it to us to support at oneclicklca.com, and we can double check for that one for you as well. But the point is that it's not going to be supported by the LEED standard still. So either you need to use your other tools that you have available in your license to follow up with the emission assessment, or you need to create a private data. We can have it like in another session, but like the CML and the Tracy are the main LCIA methodologies that are going to be covered, and the EPDs that we can use are again based on those. Tracy for North America, CML for the other parts of the world.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. And then is it mandatory in LEED V5 to track the construction site operation emissions, or A5?
So the answer is no. You can go forward with the embodied carbon assessment of A1 to A4, B1 to B5, and C1 to C4, and you can have like up to 6 points, so that's fine. Or even if you have like 3 points, 4 points, you can follow up with the EPD option and achieving the rest of the points. But if you cannot achieve all the 6 points and you want to do that, on that case, it's not mandatory, but you can go for the A5 emissions, and we have that option in the One Click LCA as we saw. So you can easily have a track of that and have your final emissions. So it's not mandatory, but you have the option to enter it, which wasn't the case in LEED v 4.1.
Great. Yeah. So if you want to go a little bit above what's mandatory, One Click LCA can help you do that too. And then last question is for people who want to learn more or maybe get a refresher after this webinar, will there be a LEED V5 Academy course?
Yeah, actually, we are like in the process of like having that course in the academy, because currently we have one course, but it's for the V4. We are going to have it very soon, and it's possible that we are going to use this webinar in one of the sessions as well. But yeah, it's gonna be there very soon. But currently, we have an article for the LEED V5 in the help center of the One Click, very comprehensive, covering everything. That we're going to like paste the link of that, like copy it in the chat, and then they can go forward with that one.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. Yeah. So check those links in the chat. We're also going to put a link in the chat to subscribe to our newsletter. And when the Academy course is complete and published, we will send out an alert to the newsletter subscribers. So if you want to learn about that, just subscribe to our newsletter and you'll be the first to find out about that. And I'm also going to be putting Mohammed's LinkedIn in the chat. So if you want to connect with him, keep the conversation going, you can do that as well. So that brings us to the end. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And Mohammed, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and sharing the demo of our new tool. And we will see you all on the next webinar.